some of the things I've experienced, if you've gotten my email, Carl, and read them, that it's not been a happy time.
Yeah.
And yesterday was another one of those times where I was really experiencing depression. And this morning, though, I got the interpretation of yesterday, and we'll get more into that later. All right. The horse with no name. When Jolene was talking to me about it last week,
okay.
I thought, oh, that's my life right now. I'm riding on a horse with no name. They don't have any diagnosis for every symptom I'm experiencing. And it's not a nice ride, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But it's like riding on a horse with no name. You've got this part of your whole life where you don't know what the name of it is or what's wrong. So I can really relate to that with the horse with no name. So I want you to think about times in your life. You don't have to, you can share if you want to, but times in your life where you thought, I don't know what the heck is going on. It is a part of your journey that there was no question mark. All it was question marks, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
I mean, what he's talking about now.
Sure. And I never thought of, I think it's an awesome interpretation about looking for the beauty in everything around you, even when you're in the middle of nowhere. I never even thought of that. That's really cool. And then also what you're going through. Yes, I did read your emails the last couple of days. I tried writing back and then it wound up bouncing back at me for some reason. But I'll talk to you more after the show. But the thing is, I've been through that whole thing of diagnoses and not knowing what's going on and frustration. I finally this year I slip here and there, but I've been trying to get my act together in general health wise, and it was because I went through 3 hospital stays in August, December, almost into Christmas, and then March, and then I said, that's it, I'm sick of this. I am absolutely sick of being sick. And
enough is enough.
Trying, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we're going to go on. I've got my screen still up. The music is off, but I've got the screen still up where I can see these words. So I'm going to travel on this horse with the no name. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz. What was the first thing that you came into your mind when you could see a fly buzzing around?
Or it could mean being when this was written in the late 60s, early 70s, that the fly wasn't just buzzing, he actually had a buzz. I don't know. I'm kidding.
I thought
perhaps.
That. But as I was listening to the song, what are you doing? You're having a nice, relaxing time out in the desert. And here you go. An annoying fly that comes around in your life. Annoying fly that aggravates you, frustrates you. And that's what happens when here we are having a good time and enjoying the trip, and here comes a bump in the road, or here comes something another to cause aggravation, and you go, come on, like a cat that follows in front of you wherever you go in my house, or a dog that does the same thing, and get out of my way, I'm having trouble walking, don't make me fall. And, there's a lot of things in life as a fly with a buzz, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the annoyance in L.A. of, thankfully I get to avoid the agony of it, but, being behind the wheel in a traffic jam, the constant buzz of horns and smog, or not smog, but just engines around you and just, that kind of thing for here in a city, I'd say.
Johnny, what's the fly buzzing around you that annoys you the most?
Oh, there's lots of things for me.
Don't name me. Don't name me.
No. There's lots of things, but it's how you deal with it that matters. And I have a relationship with flies, and that I do. I mean, honestly, I take a very Zen-like approach to flies and bees and stuff. And when they bother me or they're around me, I just kindly ask them, "Little brother, could you leave?" That's like St. Francis. He never saw frustration in any animal. But we're talking, okay, the sky with no clouds, if you're in a desert and life with no clouds, it's followed up with right behind it was the heat was hot and the ground was dry.
So if there's no clouds in the sky, the very first thing as I was listening to this song last week was no hope of rain, no hope of coolness, no hope of shade. Isn't this beautiful?
That is a beautiful line.
Did any of you ever see this before in this song?
You know,
it's just, somebody was high maybe, but he really got some deep thoughts out of it. I don't think he was high, because for him to come out with this kind of clarity, this kind of deep insight, the writer had to have been, he was sharing his deep experience and what he was dealing with. I really believe that. The air was full of sound.
That was the line
What's life like around you right now?
Yeah, that was the line I wrote down, Elizabeth. That's the first one that really jumped out at me, was the air was full of sound, because it's a mixed metaphor, and it's a really, it's funny because it seems like a mixed metaphor, but it's really not, because the way we perceive sound is through the air. Without the air, we can't hear. It's why there's no sound in space, So
wow.
It's a really, that line really jumped to me, because, sound on, I'm sorry to break out my physics degree, but sound is...
you go right ahead.
Sound is actually,
awesome.
Sound is actually a
function.
It's a function of air pressure. It's the way that we actually hear sound is because of small movements through the air pressure, and that's how we hear things. And not to nerd out, but that's what it is. And so I thought it was a mixed metaphor at first, but then I'm like, really, the air is full of sound, because it's without air we have no sound. And so that line jumped at me first, and that's probably the reason why, because it seems to be confusing at first, but it's actually very, very truthful, Well,
actually, what's interesting, I got to say this real quick, is that there always was that idea that there's no sound in space. But if somewhere we should Google this, or I don't know if you want us to delve into it now, or just something to think about for later to listeners and ourselves. But in the past week or so, there was a news story on major, like AOL or something, saying that there was that they have found that there is sound in space, and it's a very unique kind of strange musical, weird, whiny noise.
Just a minute, you two.
Okay.
Bob, he's looking for his other bedroom slipper. God bless. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was saying that. Never mind. What I was going to say is that that there is a sound in space, and they found it. I don't know what they did, but I remember seeing a headline, and it caught my eye, and I didn't read in depth yet. But if we Google it, or then you can find scientists discover that what the sound of space is, and it's actually very. It's this, some people described it as beautiful, and some people described it as very haunting and scary. But there's like this repeating patterns that they are able to pick up now.
Wow. Well, John, I got to comment. Thank you, because you confirmed just what I'm about to say, Carl. John, when you said what you said, it was like God speaking to my heart right away with, that is, be still and know that I am God.
Yeah, be still. Absolutely.
And then there's also another one, and he comes to us in silence. He speaks to us in the whisper. And that's the way we hear the voice of God, is when we draw away to talk to God. And in that stillness, in the quiet, that's when we can hear. And then, Carl, you came right behind with that. They found out there's actually some noise or a sound out in space. How about that? Isn't that awesome?
Well,
moving on. Go ahead. You can talk. I'm going to move this on.
Well, what you're saying about the how it's surprising that they now can find sound is, it's sort of like, you're saying that if you do draw back and you do go where you think it's going to be silent, suddenly you might hear things a whole different way, or God is speaks to us, or puts some sort of thing. And that was the thing that blew people's minds about this sound out there, is that it goes in a pattern, whether they saw it as beautiful or scary. That's the thing that's amazing to me, that I stand by when people try to insist, there's no God whatsoever. When they say scientifically, they try to say, there's no God, or there's no way. It's like, well, then I really just don't. I just don't see how there could be so many patterns, so many. They've mapped out all sorts of like grid-like connections that on electron microscopes of connections between all sorts of things throughout the universe, and now you have a repeating sound pattern across the infinite vastness of space. Yeah, there's nothing doing that. It's just a random explosion.
I always.
And I'm going to go on from then, keeping that thought, because I'm going to connect it to something else right here with the song. The next thing over is, it felt good to be out of the rain. I've been to the desert with the horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. And getting a rain, of course, things that come into your life that you could conceive or interpret to be. Rain can be awesome, and rain can also be a dreary mess, depending on what you're going through with your life. So to be out of the rain, it could be considered, yes, this is a good thing. The other thing that follows up in the desert, you can't remember your name because there ain't no one for to give you no pain. And that, again, you're in a place in your journey of life where you are alone, where there's no one around you to give you any aggravation, frustration, pain. And so in your aloneness, some may feel aloneness. A lot of people, especially single people who are still hoping to find that special someone, they feel very lonely and feel like that there is no one knowing their name or remembering their name, or they just feel that deep alone. And guess what? Even as a married person, I've had times like that where I felt like that no one cared, even though I know that's not true. But it's, you just feel isolated sometimes. And they bring up the email to talk about the difference between isolation and loneliness that was sent to me today that our new Pope wrote, Pope Francis. All right, continuing on with this song, and this is where we're going to bring back to what you were talking about, the pattern out there. La 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 la. That part of the song, do you know there's well over 2,000 plus languages in the world, and now we have one out in space. That pattern of a sound could be the voice of God, for all we know.
I like that a lot, actually. Like there's a thing called cosmic background radiation, and it has a sound. You can interpret it sonically as a sound, and that really is that really is kind of, a lot of scientists look at that and call that the voice of God, because it is it's definitely it's magical. It's mystical, and the fact that the universe is talking is kind of, if you're looking for the voice of God, I would look at the voice of the universe as a beginning place, maybe a reflection of God's voice,
Right.
I
Yeah.
have a question
Okay,
for you.
we're going to go ahead. You keep talking, and we'll move on to the next verse.
Okay, sorry. I have a question unrelated to the song, but there's a little controversy breaking out in the past week or so of early in the year. I'm sure you heard about the movie Noah, whether you saw it or not. There was a lot of controversy over, was it taking too many liberties with the story of Noah and things like that.
Right,
now there's Exodus coming out, and I don't want to get in a big discussion on it, but basically they're saying that the director has decided to cast the voice of God as an 11-year-old boy, and Christian Bale, who's playing Moses, is running around saying, "Well, Moses was a paranoid schizophrenic," and so people are going, "Oh my gosh, what's he?" And so I'm not trying
all
to
the different interpretations.
Yeah,
huh?
well, I'm not trying to
Everybody has their own point of view.
I'm not trying to get into the Christian Bale thing,
Go
but I'm just
ahead.
wondering, what do you think of the idea of could God, on the one hand, we hear Christ say, be like a child and things like that, and then when when Ridley Scott, the director, comes up